Episode 8. Casey Della, Penna, my man. How are you doing today?
What's up, Mr. Darren? Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you again. Not in person this time like a month ago, but
Oh, it was good to see you, man. Made the trip down to Florida. It was nice to break some bread with you.
it was pretty cool. So today, folks, we have my buddy Casey Della Penna. We're going to get into this guy was working with the Heat. We reconnected over the last 6 months. Now, great story about this. Casey and I, back in our youth, used to work.
Prime.
Yeah. Back in the day, we used to run hard and fast in the big city. Casey and I met, I don't know, probably 25 years ago now, working in the ad game, back in my past life. So from the episode prior where, you guys met Ava, my old boss, Ava, Casey was running the same world, and we were doing this in our mid-20s. We were cutting our teeth, growing, and one of the beautiful things about the world, and one of the great things about what 2020 brought to us, is a reconnection with a lot of people, and we'll get into that because Casey and I have a group of guys now that we meet with once a month virtually from all over North America and Canada, to just connect and talk and build each other up, which is kind of cool. Before we get into this episode, I owe you a great deal of homage, my friend, for bringing this to life. As I've said in previous podcasts, this was rattling around my head. Like I said, the 25th year anniversary of my dad's passing, Kenny Sullivan passing. How do I pay it back? What can you do to pay it back? Casey comes out with a post, excuse me, in mid-October, maybe a little bit earlier than that. Hey, it's Gratitude Friday. And I'm like, damn it, this has to happen. I connected with Casey that day, and I was like, dude, I've been thinking about doing this. We got to reconnect. We had kept up with each other on social, but nothing beyond that. And then it became, hey, this is what's going on. Got to say thank you. Why don't we catch up? Boom, boom, boom. A few meetings later, turns into a face-to-face dinner down in Florida. Probably the beginning of many more as Casey begins his journey. But Case, tell me about what's going on in your world, where you've kind of come from. Again, reconnecting over 20 years, don't go into like the chunk version from the Goonies, but give us a little bit about the man, the myth, the legend that is Casey Della Penna, what you have going on, this new journey that you're going to begin to embark on at Junior Achievement of South Florida. And from me to you, and I've told you this many times off camera, thank you for bringing Homage to life, because you really were the impetus that made this happen. So,
I mean, Darren, you are way too kind. This reconnection is long overdue, was long overdue. Like I said to you at dinner the other night, there was always something about you. I always had a feeling that we would somehow reconnect. I didn't know why or how, but I felt like just the way your life was going. We kept up, I kept up with you on social media and LinkedIn. And I always felt that you were one of those guys where I'm like, shoot, I really wish I had a deeper relationship with this guy when I lived in New York City. I moved to South Florida in 2009. So I spent the better part of 10 years working in New York, and that's when I happened to meet you. But you're one of those guys that I always wish that I had formed a deeper relationship with in my time in New York. Darren, I'll tell you, over the past, call it 20 years, and I'll kind of talk career. I have a nine-year-old daughter who is my world. She's changed my life, obviously, for the better, as most parents can say that about their kids. But, I have a really, at least I believe, I know all parents are biased, but I think my daughter's obviously very special. And she's really changed my life for the better over the past 9 years. once I left you in New York City, moved to South Florida, and really, went through a divorce that was challenging. It wasn't a tough divorce. It was more so that it was one of those where whenever you're going through divorce, you just can't believe that it's happening to you in your marriage. I've been divorced now for 5 or 6 years, and I'm happy to say that, my ex and I are great friends. She literally lives across the street from me here in Weston, Florida. We co-parent our daughter 50-50, and we have a great co-parenting relationship. So that has worked out fantastically. It's just been fantastic. So going through that, giving up the New York City life, giving up my family and friends in Philadelphia and Boston. I went to school at UMass, so all my buddies live outside of Boston. Moving to South Florida, kind of for the unknown, I've had to overcome that to get to where I am. I've had to push, ended up, a friend of mine brought me on at the Miami Heat a little bit over 2 years ago. And when we reconnected during COVID, I mean, you saw it immediately, Darren. I was kind of having these, a mutual friend of ours, Lonnie Sweet, you mentioned, like, Casey's got something going on, right? Something's going on in Casey's head. He's got to figure it out. And Lonnie was 100% right. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. It's the best way of putting it. And I met you, I've re-met you. I met the guys that you brought to the table, and I really did some thinking, and I made a move recently to join a nonprofit to help them out with their fundraising. And I couldn't be more excited.
And hold on. Just before you get into this, because I want to, we got to frame this out. Okay. Yeah. So Casey is extremely humble. Casey had a position and the reason why I want to frame this out is because it lends a little bit to, as far as we were apart when we both left Manhattan and doing that, there was an air, and this is why I think this group of guys is so important, because all you guys from you to Vic to Trent to Joe to Drew, who am I missing? I think I got everybody, and me. Like, everybody's a striver, and everybody's got this just air of like not uncontentment in a bad way, but like there's something more. There's always something more. There's always something to do. And Casey, and I'll let Casey tell the story, but like, you have your dream job. You're working for a professional sports team in the NBA. There's only a handful of jobs. There's not, more NBA teams and more jobs that are at NBA teams than there actually are. There's 32 NBA teams. There's only so many jobs. It's like being in the NFL or professional sports. It's not an endless pool of gigs. So to have your dream job in your 30s and to be able to go about your business and like have a good life down in South Florida. Casey and I were talking about this too. He's down in South Florida. It's absolutely beautiful. He's, like, bro, you got the life down there, man. And to be able to do this and to have this like restlessness to say, there's got to be something more. And then to go to a nonprofit, like, I'm going to let you take it from here, but like, I could, just like you said, like Lonnie and I were having conversations, you could sense it very quickly and you couldn't put your finger on it, but like, kudos, man. I said this to you last month, like, good for you to push your boundaries. There's not many people who would do that. And so go ahead. I interrupt, but it's just something that it's really like, from the moment we started talking, it was like really powerful. And like I said, it got me to do this. Casey can do anything. Why can't I?
I thank you for that. First, I keep losing your audio, so you keep going in and out on audio. So I'm going to do my best to keep up. You keep muting, but it's definitely my internet. But we're going to keep going. We're going to get through this. It wasn't my story, Darren. I don't know if I told you this, but there's a movie called Unbreakable, and there's a line in Unbreakable where Samuel L. Jackson's character says to Bruce Willis's character, you know, Bruce Willis is a superhero. He doesn't know it. Samuel L. Jackson is the opposite. He's the bad guy to Bruce Willis's good guy. And he says to Bruce Willis, you know that sadness you feel every morning when you wake up? He goes, that's because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You have all these skills and these talents, and you're not using them to the best of their ability. And I rewatched that movie with my daughter a few months ago. And Darren, I swear to God, I fell out of my chair. It's a silly, cheesy M. Night Shyamalan movie, but that in itself is what I was feeling. I'd wake up, I'd like my job, but I knew that there was something bigger for me to be doing. With all the people I know and my connections, my network, how do I, and listen, not that the Miami Heat is I loved what I did and it's a great franchise, but I feel like I want to give back more to people who need it or who can use the help more. So, you know, I've been involved in mentoring for the past few years. And when I had a few conversations with Lori Salarulo, the president and CEO of JA South Florida, I knew immediately. I told her when I saw the job description that it was for me because just something inside me says I need to give back. And I'm so passionate about the cause, and the cause is financial literacy. You know, the 3 pillars are work readiness, financial literacy, and what am I forgetting here? Entrepreneurship. And as I learn more about what they're doing, I just can't wait to get more involved and to help out because, as you know, America's schools don't teach much about this. And as a parent, you want to give your child everything you didn't have growing up, and you want to teach your kid the ways. You know, I was raised by a great mother. You know, my stepfather adopted me, and she didn't teach me anything about finances. But she didn't know anything about finances, right, Darren? Like, she was old school. No one knew.
Bro, we were still cutting mattresses and throwing money in mattresses back in the mid-'80s.
This is my point. You know, like my first day at ESPN in New York City, they're like, do you want to sign up for the 401k? I go, what the hell's a 401k? I don't know what that is. That was like a cereal, like special K. Like, what does that mean? So I learned pretty quickly what it was, and I've kind of self-taught. I've done a lot of reading over the years to figure out what needs to be done to retire appropriately and all that kind of stuff. And I teach my daughter watches Shark Tank with me, which is hilarious. She can evaluate businesses now when they put out the initial offer. It's really cool to see that. And if I can just help one kid succeed and have him or her have an easier path to financial success or just learning the ways of the business world, then I've done my job. And again, I'm actually starting this upcoming Mondays. I don't know when this is when you're gonna put this out to the world, Darren, but I'm excited to kind of regroup with you and kind of let you know how it's going, because I'm excited to help out. We do events, we do a lot of, cool activities in the community to get kids involved. Every 5th grader in Broward County has a field trip to our facilities once a year. It's really, really cool stuff. And I'm super passionate about it. And the timing of me meeting Lori and us just connecting, this, I believe in this. It's law of attraction. It's putting it out there to the world, having a little bit of faith. I'm the least risk averse person I know, Darren. I don't like risk at all. And I left the Heat without something lined up, with faith that my network and/or I would figure it the heck out before I became poor and destitute. And I did. So I'm excited. I'll let you know how it's going in a few months. Yeah, I'm jazzed up about it.
Yeah, we'll do a follow-up. With regards to junior achievement, like in South Florida, like that's awesome that, like what you just said about every 5th grader in Broward County getting the chance to go to your facility, and like those 3 pillars and having them be so important to you. And I don't think it's unique to your story, like Casey Della Penna's story, but there's so many kids in America, similar to you. Like when I got to, Media Edge back in 2000, graduating a good school like Lehigh, but even those things don't, and a rep in Philly for you today with my Nova.
I love the sweatshirt. Mainline, baby. Mainline.
Yeah, man. Super pumped. Gillespie and Samuels are coming back next year.
Yeah.
But just like I said, I don't think it's unique to us. Casey and I share a similar upbringing in that, not that we came up, like, look, we lived in suburban areas and grew up, but like nothing was handed to us. It was, you learn as you went, you played sports, you did your thing. We were good kids, but having the ability, and I think my mom was a little bit ahead, like similar to what you were saying. Super dating myself right now, but my mom taught me how to balance a checkbook. That was like the extent of, like, I remember at the end of every week, because I used to like cut grass or, go and shovel snow or whatever season it was. And that money went into the bank. And like, it used to drive me nuts. Like, why do I have to balance this checkbook? Well, you need to know how much money's in there. Yeah, but I know how much money's in there because it doesn't change. There's like $20 that goes in every week,
Right.
It's not a big, like 20 plus 20 is 40. I got that one early.
Smart kid.
Yeah. But the uniqueness of the story here, and again, that connection and putting it out to the world in a similar way, what you were talking about, how you got this opportunity at Junior Achievement through, Steve and Mark, and to be able to make that connection. I guess tell the audience here, because the power of reconnecting, like a lot of people, and again, don't downplay 2020 and how it's affected a lot of people. And, we've lived through a crisis, but in that crisis, there has led to so much opportunity to be able to reconnect with people and put people together and be a sort of a beacon, if you will, or, that like nexus to bring people together. I mean, the post that I put out, when you put out that you were leaving the Heat and without another opportunity, I had like 8,000 people, when I just put out, hey, my buddy Casey, here's an opportunity. There's like 8,000 people that came to my post on LinkedIn.
Right.
I was floored.
Right.
Not that I was floored that it was you. I mean, but I was like, wow, like there's power here in connecting. And so, with regards to this new opportunity and how you plan to pay it forward, if you will, I know you haven't started yet. We'll do a follow-up piece in a few months, but what for you is kind of that like benchmark? Like, where does Casey see himself when he grows up in 3 years, and trying to like piece this all together and bringing these three pillars to the kids of South Florida? Like, what was that when you said, I saw this job description and it was like, it hit me, it resonated with me? What about that for you? Maybe it's having, your daughter and where she is in her growth, but what does that mean for you to outside of your house, to like these opportunities? Like,
it's Darren, we look back at our lives, and everything I've done up until this point, it's kind of like been this, I've been happy, right? I've been happy, but I've never, and I'm not saying that this is going to make me find my inner peace, but it's kind of like I've always had this
yearning.
It's not a paranoia, but it's something like that. Like I'm running from something, right? I'm running from stuff I saw growing up. I'm running from bits of my childhood that I try to push away. Stuff I saw that I don't want my daughter to see. And like I said to you earlier, if I can teach or help one kid get better or succeed, like I've done my job, And I remember one of our calls a few months ago with the group that we're on. I remember Vishal said something about, he asked a group and we all kind of snickered. He's like, do you think about dying, or like how many people are going to come to your funeral? And it's a little morbid, but I agreed with him. I think about that stuff probably more than I should. How many people are going to come to my funeral? What are they going to say when I'm out of here? What's my daughter going to say? And that's how I live my life. I'm not saying I live my life so that people show up at my funeral, but I'm making sure that on the back half of my life now, that I'm doing everything right to have people, I want to touch people the right way for the next, Another gentleman reached out to me on LinkedIn after I put that post up about leaving the Heat. Reached out blindly, and he told me about a book called Halftime. Basically, it's about, okay, now you're in the second half of your work career, your life. What does that look like? And he said to me, he said, Casey, this has midlife crisis written all over it. And I said to him, I said, this doesn't feel like a crisis to me. This just feels like I need to figure out what the heck I'm doing with my life. Like you said, what do I want to be when I grow up? I think weaker men may have turned this into a midlife crisis, but for me, I'm wired and I've seen so many things where I'm just like, okay, this can't, like, I knew and had faith this was going to work out and I was going to figure something out. I didn't realize it was going to be something so, at least on the surface right now, fulfilling. I mean, like I said, talk to me in 6 months, I'll see where I am. But on the surface, this seems like everything I've wanted, and it truly could be. And I don't use this term lightly. I feel like it could be my calling to help out the kids in, the kids in this area and this town, and help my daughter succeed and help her create a path forward that I didn't have. If I didn't go to college, Darren, no one in my family went to school. My grandfather went to seminary. He was a minister, so he went to, religious school. But I was the first kid in my family to go to a 4-year university. And had I not done that, I'd be living in my hometown. And there are plenty of great people that I know that have never left the Malvern, PA area or the Phoenixville, Pennsylvania area. Plenty of people who are doing great things. So please don't, I'm not disrespecting those people, but that's not for me. And had I not gone to school and seen and had such a good group of guy friends growing up and seeing what family should be and what family should be like, and oh, by the way, you are, it's good to go to college and go get your degree and get out of town and go learn about you. Had I not done that stuff, I'd be in my hometown just kind of, living my life there, which is fine, but it just wasn't for me. And I think to kind of put a little bow on your question there, for me, Darren, selfishly, I want to help my daughter out as much as possible. I want to make her work for things like we worked for things, but at the same time, I want her to have all the tools at her disposal that I didn't have. And like I told Lori, when I met her, I said, selfishly, I want to do this for my daughter. And it's, I just went the other way. When I saw stuff growing up, I said, I will never, ever, ever father like that. I will never, ever be that kind of man to my child. And now it might be becoming my life's work. And that to me is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's actually to your point here, right before we got on, I was on LinkedIn, and thank you, Keith Elias, who played at Princeton and used to be on the Giants. He's now the senior director of player engagement at the National Football League. He put something out on LinkedIn this morning that really blew me away. And this is similar to what you're saying. He said, there will be pain, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. You choose. Yeah. And to me, putting in the work or doing your calling or whatever that may be, like taking the hard route, like between you and I could probably say this with 100% certainty, there were times in our life where we could have done things differently, could have taken the easier route, taken the harder route sometimes. Mm-hmm. But that pain of regret, that'll never go away. Right. You'll never have that opportunity. You'll always, you get coached up, you have hard, mentors, times with your parents that are tough, whatever it may be. And they suck. And in the moment you're sitting there going, this sucks. Like, really? I know this. Mm-hmm. And like now as a 44-year-old versus being an 18-year-old, I can say, wow, I didn't really know that. And I had to see a lot of stuff to get to that point. Mm-hmm. But that pain of regret, which is why it was very apropos when I saw this post not 10 minutes before we jumped on. Mm-hmm. I think it's awesome what you're doing. I kind of went on this journey with Casey a little bit, not in the, not as far as down the rabbit hole as he did, but he was kind of keeping me apprised of what was going on, how things were going. I kind of kept in touch with him, made sure everything was okay. And the decision ultimately to do this, I think will, again, 6 months, if it's your life's work, if it's not your life's work, you'll get there and you'll see.
Yep.
But what we talk about and kind of preach in this group that we have is like, you got to go through the experience. You got to go through the highs. You got to go through the lows. It's not mistakes, it's experience. And it's paid off immensely.
Yeah.
Before we kind of wrap this up, with regards to how you've played a part, you know, and I'm hoping as we go forward, it'll be way more apart than it was the last 20 years, because the cool thing about dinner that Casey and I had, and I don't know if you felt this way, but it was like, and Casey posted, you know, the photo of us up in which with my gray hair, he looks way better at his age, you know, than I did. What are you now? 42, 43?
42.
Yeah, 42. I'm 44. I look like 54 and Casey looks like he's 32.
Too kind.
One of the things that was super awesome about this dinner was, getting together, you know, telling stories. We're, you know, the last time we were out and saw each other in person, we were both in our mid-20s. We probably weren't even married and definitely didn't have children.
Right.
Now you're 25 years in the future. You're married for a bunch of years. You know, Casey went through being married, having a divorce, but having a child. And it was like there was never a day that went by. Sat down, big bear hug, and just kind of kept going on that journey of life together. And it will be a continuation because we have so much in common and we have so many stories, and we're both at a place in our life that, and we both embrace, I think what's super important, we both embrace that giving back. And I think that's the special element to this group that we have as well. There's the age range is, you know, from, I think, me being the oldest all the way down to Drew, you know, being in his late 20s, early 30s. And it's like, there's so much to, as much as you're giving back, like there's lessons to be learned at all sides and different angles and different perspectives of life and where people are at that you didn't think of. So my heartfelt gratitude to you for taking the time today. Even though you're a dirty Real Madrid fan.
Real Madrid.
Yeah, dude. We went through this whole thing. Ramos pulled Salah's arm out of socket like Chewbacca. Yeah, I'll never let you live that way.
90% of the people who see this won't have any idea what you're talking about, but we know what you're talking about.
But the 10% that do know exactly, and everybody in Liverpool that's seeing this, I got you. But in all seriousness, thank you for taking the time today. We will do a follow-up as Casey begins this new journey and he's filling me in. I will fill everybody else in, but keep the good vibes coming, man, because what you're doing and the life you're leading and how you're doing it, to be able to come to have enough self-awareness to come to this point and to make this decision, not a lot of people would do it. So I say kudos to you. I thank you for helping get this idea of Homage out into the world. This will be episode number 8. Hopefully I can get to 50 and then 100 and just keep on giving it back because the feedback that I've gotten from this, whether it's you or whether it's my mom or whether it's, you know, mentors that I've had or buddies of mine, it's about sharing stories and bringing different perspectives to people. And so I will give you the last few minutes to talk up whatever you would like and to give, you know, the viewers any last tidbits of info and knowledge that you want to drop on them. So go ahead.
I'm going to talk a little bit about you, Darren.
I was hoping you weren't going to do that.
You know, come on, man. We're just sitting here trying to give, who's going to outgive the other here? You know, to the viewers who actually do see this, you know, Darren and I share a very special bond. I think that it's when I truly, truly bond with somebody, male or female, it's because they have a story. Darren lost his father years ago. In many ways had to, your mother had to become your mother and father, and you had to figure that stuff out without his guiding hand. In many ways, and I think I've told this before, my biological father left at a young age. He wasn't involved in my life. I went to his funeral later on in life. I had heard that he had passed away, and I went to his celebration of life, and I walked around there, Darren, and 95% of the people didn't know that he ever had a son. Okay. So that was heartbreak for me, that these people didn't even know he had a kid, and that's fine. And I got through it, but kudos to you for becoming the man you are without that fatherly guiding hand that many young men have and either take for granted or don't use it. Not use it, that's the wrong term, but they don't appreciate it, and because I didn't have that father figure in my life, I'm not a huge Tony Robbins guy, but he says something about his mom. He says, if my mother was the woman that I wanted her to be, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. And Darren, I'll put this back on you and say, in many ways, your father passing, it couldn't have worked out better for you, because you have become an amazing human being, an amazing father, an amazing husband. And I see it, man. And I want to spend more time with you and meet the kids. And unfortunately, we couldn't get the kids together when you're down in Jupiter, but that's going to happen one of these days. Mm-hmm. So kudos to you for creating DSM. And like I said, being a good father and being a good husband to Samantha, and just being you, man, and just keep bringing that light into the world. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you giving me your time. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the future, and I'm excited to see what your next chapter holds too, as you kind of go down this road. But I love you, man, like a brother, and you're the man.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, when you say like what holds the next chapter, bro, I'm just looking to get to lunch. Like, seriously, what am I gonna have for lunch? But thank you. Means a lot. It's hard to look at it when you're sitting in the lens to look out of the lens.
Exactly right.
But the way I see it, if we all just keep on giving a little bit of ourselves, it's like what people say on LinkedIn, like, hey, you never know what somebody else is going through until you walk a mile in their shoes. Yep. Little gestures. Yeah. It's little gestures.
And Gary, I think it was Gary B or somebody said it recently. I saw something. Positivity needs to be louder, right? There's so much negativity in this world right now. When you turn on the news, I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. When you turn on your preferred news channel, it's horrific.
Yeah. Oh, you froze up. Come back to me, Casey.
Because you have.
You're back. You're back.
Oh, did you lose me? Oh no.
That was amazing. All right, you have to do the last 30 seconds over. No,
you didn't miss anything. It was just me spouting off.
No, it was like what you said about positivity. The last thing I got was, if your preferred news network, it's all about negativity. Yeah,
it's negativity. And as people, if you're doing something positive, don't be afraid to share it, because people need to know that there's people like me, Darren, Vishal up in Canada, Drew in North Jersey, Trent up in Salem, New Hampshire, Marty right down in,
Marty.
About Marty in Miami. Like, these people, they're good people. Find the helpers, find the people who want to help you, and let's keep doing this together, man, because I'm here for you and whatever I can do to help. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this next chapter, and you're along for the ride. So I'm excited you're with me, brother.
I appreciate it. Well, everybody, big homage today to Casey Della Penna for sharing his story, for putting details out there, for being vulnerable. Really cool. And we wish you, I don't know, all 3.5 viewers I have of this thing, we wish you nothing but luck and good fortune on this next journey at Junior Achievement of South Florida. I don't think you're going to need much luck because you from the first day, you're going to be like a ball of energy going in there and trying to change the world. But pace yourself. Pace
Yeah,
yourself.
right,
You gotta. I know we talked about this is kind of like the beginning of the end of our lives, but we probably got like another like 45 years. So just pace yourself, bro. And but like I said, all the best. Continued success. Continue to do the little things and do the little gestures that you do that make people around you feel good, feel cared about, feel loved. And obviously, whatever we around here can do, hopefully we'll get everybody together. We can do a retreat somewhere, like on a fishing boat in like Cabo or something someday.
Florida Keys, baby. Come on down.
Or the Florida Keys, all about it. So, Casey Della Penna, thank you for homage number 8. Sincere gratitude. Love you, pal. Stay out of trouble and good luck on the next journey.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, dude.